Someone said something to me the other day, and I just felt understood, like properly. And my first reaction wasn't warmth or like this feeling of closeness, it was relief. And I noticed that because relief is a weird word for it. Relief is what you feel when something stops hurting, not when something good happens. Because I don't think I was in pain before that moment. I wasn't walking around feeling lonely or unseen or whatever. I was fine, normal. And then someone got me in that specific way. And I felt this thing release in my chest that I didn't know was tight. That's strange, right? And that can be carrying something without knowing it. Okay, so I want to try and explain this. And I don't know if I'm going to land it. There's this writer, Kafka, Franz Kafka, and he wrote in a letter to someone he loved, he said something like, I'm always trying to communicate something that can't be communicated. And sometimes I only feel in my bones, something I only feel in my bones, I think. And the attempt to put it in words, into language, produces agonizing misunderstandings. And I read that and I thought, oh, that's just a lot of conversations that people can have. Like, we forget what we're doing every single time we talk to someone is a translation of what we're going inside of, like the feelings that we're expressing inside of us, which are from a different part of the brain that's not capable of language. It's from our animal brain. So we have this feeling or thought or experience, and it lives in you, whatever raw form it lives in. And then you have to convert it actually into words, into body language or whatever, which is never exactly right. And then the other person receives those words and converts them back into their own understanding based on their own life, their own everything. And somewhere in all that, something's always lost. And we do this all day with everyone. And it's exhausting in a way that I think is so constant that we don't feel it anymore. It's like background noise you stop hearing, actually. And there's actually research on this. The psychological cost of constantly adjusting how you present yourself depending on who you're with, monitoring yourself, translating yourself, very Gemini energy. People who do it more actually report higher levels of anxiety or more disconnection from themselves. And that used to be me, actually. I think even in my closest relationships with people that I love the most, I was still translating. Maybe just less than with other people, maybe more efficiently, but it never fully stopped until occasionally someone just gets it without the full translation, or they get the high amount, I don't know, 99%, whatever, but something that feels like they just get it. And they receive the garbled approximation of the thing and they understand what you actually meant, what you actually felt, and they feel it in the bones. And that's the relief. That's like the release feeling that you get when someone actually sees you. You just get to stop working for a second, which is pretty cool and actually what I think connection is, or deep connection. Not two people understanding each other perfectly, because that's not possible. I think Kafka was right about that, but two people who are both willing to try hard to close that gap, um, willing to do the translation or like similar enough in their experience that they can achieve that gap. Um, and that makes me think of another philosopher, Simone Weil. She died very young, and she wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Not love or care, but generosity, because generosity implies cost. You give something, it's not free, it costs you something to be genuinely generous. And she's saying that's what attention is, like truly paying attention to someone, stopping and trying to understand what they're going through. It's not something that's automatic or reflex, it's a choice that you make, and it costs you something. And I believe that that's actually how you love your neighbor. I mean, she was talking about the love of our neighbor in all its fullness. It just means being able to say that to him, like what you're going through. And that's it. So, yeah, that's the definition of love that I think is pretty helpful to me right now. And yeah, I found it both beautiful and a little bit devastating, actually, because how often does anyone actually ask for it or receive it. Um, and most of the time ask you, how are you? And they want you to say fine. They're not really asking you what you're going through. And even if they're like listening to what you're going through, maybe they don't have the emotional space to try and put on that effort and generosity to connect. So when someone actually pays attention to you, that kind of attention to you, and someone actually wants to know what you're going through and sit with the full weight of it, that's not just connection, I don't think. And according to this woman, who I think was one of the most serious thinkers of the last century, that is love in its fullest form. And that's why I think it feels like relief, because someone spent something on you. Someone chose to pay the cost of actually seeing you. And it's so rare when it happens that your whole body registers it at like as like the lifting of a weight, weight that you didn't know you were carrying, and yeah, that I didn't know was carrying. I don't. Maybe this is obvious, and I'm just catching up, but this is yeah what I'm going through right now. Just realizing